Hi everybody, Inez from IF Property Solutions. I trust that you have had a wonderful week so far. Today I am going to be discussing three topics, three very relevant topics when dealing with a building plan. Okay, so those would be building line relaxations, servitudes, and fire hazardous structures. So let's climb into the building line relaxations. All right. So when dealing with building line relaxations, there's two ways of getting these structures approved, and today I'm going to discuss those with you. If after this video you would like me to come out to site and come and assess structures on site, I will gladly do so. Please leave your details in the link below, or you can send me a WhatsApp or an email. Okay, so let's get into it. So if you have built over your building line, the first option would be to draw it exactly how it is on site, pay council the building line encroachment fee, get your neighbor to sign off, so they would sign off on a site plan, and they would sign off on a council document called comments from another party, and they would state that they have no objection to the structure being built over the building line. Okay, that is the shorter and easier way. Sometimes we do have issues where neighbors refuse to sign off. This is unfortunately where it gets longer, or the longer process, because we need to get a town planner involved and an application needs to be submitted to council to basically request that council overrides the neighbor's signature. Okay, but during this process, you have to inform all neighboring properties of this process. Okay, so it's an application that you send to council. There is an advertising process that takes place, and the neighbors do have full right to object. If you cannot get the neighbors to retract their objection, unfortunately, the case will be taken to an MPT meeting, so a tribunal, whereby the objectors would state their case to council and a decision will be made by council. Now, unfortunately, these processes can take very long. Council does request that you as the professional or the owner and the neighbor do mediate before it does go as far as to a tribunal meeting. Yes, and that's the long and the short of building line relaxations and how we get them approved, and the issues that you can run into. If you'd like more information on this, you're more than welcome to contact me. And yes, I'll definitely assist you, and I cannot wait to hear from you. Thank you. Bye. Hi everybody, Inez from IF Property Solutions again. And now I'm going to be discussing servitudes. Yes, that big headache that we all have when we're dealing with a building plan. But sometimes there are solutions. Okay, so firstly, you cannot, when you go to site or do a site measure, see a servitude with the naked eye. It's not a visible thing. It's not like a structure that you look at and you can immediately establish. Servitudes are documented in legal binding documentation such as title deeds and SG diagrams. So it's very, very, very important that when you start with a project that you do order. There's 4 very, very, very important documentation, which is your title deed, your surveyor general diagram, your sewer connection slips that you can see where the connection is on site, and then obviously your zoning certificate. Okay, very, very, very important. So you would normally find in your title deed, it will tell you that there is servitudes or there needs to be servitudes on site. So when you are drawing your building plan out, you can place the servitudes where you need to place them as per how the structures have been built, except you cannot use the street side. So servitudes are not visible. You can basically, if you've got a property and your title deed says that you need 2 sides of a 2-meter wide servitude, you can choose any side of the property except for the street's side. Okay, so obviously we all do know that council does not allow us, or council does not allow structures to be built over a servitude and be approved unless it is certain structures. Now we've done many of these. We've gotten many LAWPAs approved this way, many carports this way. It all depends on which structure we are dealing with. So every site is case specific. So when I tell you, yes, certain structures can be approved, it really does depend on the positioning of it, how it is placed, well, on site, obviously, like I said, the positioning of it, what type of structure it is. So very case specific. So a site measure needs to take place before that type of advice can be given through. All right. And as well, the professional that is dealing with your building plan needs to discuss this with council. So you can actually have a pre-consultation with the department and ask them if they would approve such a structure by way, you call it a notarial deed of encroachment. So what happens is that you as the owner go into a binding contract with council whereby it states that if council ever needs to enter the property, they do not take any responsibility for the damaging of any structures. And this actually physically gets endorsed into your title deed. So it gets registered at the deeds office. So it's a legal binding contract, gets registered at the deeds office, and once that is done, council will then approve that structure. And that happens often for LAWPAs and carports, mostly for structures that are open on 3 sides, not if you have built on an additional granny flat or so on. We're going to run into problems. Council will not approve that. You can have a pre-consultation with them. Yes, always good to pre-consult with council on structures built over a servitude to see if you can or cannot, but generally they don't allow it unless it is open on 3 sides. Sometimes they're even more lenient. We got one through the other day where it was open on 2 sides only, and they actually did allow it. So always make sure that the professional giving you the advice has done the pre-consultation with council and you are able to go through that process. Okay, so yes, if you have any further questions about servitudes, or if you suspect that something has been built over a servitude, give us a ring. Let's go through the documentation and we'll advise you accordingly. Thank you. Bye. Hi everybody, Inez from IF Property Solutions, and now I'm going to touch base on fire hazardous structures. Okay, this is a complex subject to touch base on. Why? Because again, very case specific. Okay, it is always good when dealing with a fire hazardous structure to get your fire consultant involved. Very good. Council, the fire department, also has the prerogative to request for a fire consultant to be appointed to a project when there are fire hazardous structures on site. Now these can range from LAWPAs, Wendy's, tool sheds, even to a certainty carports. So very case specific. Yes, architects can go out and they can give you advice, yes, depending on how the structure is placed on site and as well the size of the structure. So if we're discussing LARPers, for instance, okay, a LARPer, if a LARPer is larger than 20 square meters, we know in the industry that the fire department is going to request for a fire consultant to be appointed to do a rational fire design. We know that the client is going to have to install a lightning conductor. We know that with a LARPer, and even these days with Wendy's, council requires proof that these structures have been treated. Okay, so once it's been treated, you'll get a certificate by the company that treated it, and they will give you a guarantee. Now, you either get a guarantee for 3 years or 5 years. Okay, but like I explained, very, very case specific, depending on where the structure is placed on site, what type of structure it is always good to consult with your fire consultant. At IF Property Solutions, we do that on a daily basis. We know that it is a specialist that needs to deal with such structures. So we can go out to site, take photos, give the information through to our fire consultant, and get the best advice for our clients. Yes, sometimes the structure will be placed in a certain area on site, and you would think, looking at it, that it would not be approved, but your fire consultant will have a solution for that. Okay, so sometimes those solutions would be to increase the height of the wall to the pitch of the LARPer. It all depends, like I say, case specific. I am going to be inviting our fire consultants, and we are going to be doing a webinar specifically on these type of structures, whereby the specialist, our fire consultant, will be discussing these structures. Okay, so if you do have a professional that is on site and the professional says to you, break down, demolish, it will not be approved, please get a second opinion. Okay, very, very, very important. Every architectural company should have a fire consultant that they deal with, so that they are able to give their clients the best advice, and also so that you don't always have to demolish. I'm not saying every single site or every single structure will be approved. I'm saying there are, in most cases, there are solutions. So before demolishing that structure, let's first discuss it. Let's consult with our fire consultant, and let's see what we can do for you to keep your structures on site as they are. I look forward to hearing from you. And yes, please look out for our webinar. We will send out a link for that as well, and our contact details will be in the link below as well. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you. Bye.